Hey, how are you? Good, you? Good as well. Hey, I was thinking that maybe we could meet up on Saturday to do something fun together. Do you have time? I do, yeah, that would be fun. I'm very short on carbon though. We bought some new things for the house, so that took quite some space out of our carbon budget. No worries at all. Let's just do some low carbon activity together and I can pick you up with my electric car. Okay, that sounds great. Can we pass by your house? I'm so curious how your new solar thermal collector looks like. Yeah, sure. It's great to have it, as now we don't have to spend much of our carbon budget when we want to take a hot shower during the sunny months of the year. It was quite a renovation though. Our house was built in 2019 and we still had a warm water boiler on natural gas, although everyone was aware of the climate problem. Yeah, that's ridiculous. When we were looking for a new house last year, we negotiated a lower price because the stove was still working on natural gas and that would cut in our carbon budget and would thus limit us to do other things. Right, there is no biogas from waste available in your region? There is, but it's not enough. And if it's not waste material that's being used for the biogas, it cuts again in your carbon budget. Ah, I understand. Now that you have the new house, your commute to work is shorter, right? Yes, indeed. That really helped with our carbon budget. For John, the commute is longer though, but he can work from home most of the time and hires an electric car if needed. I see. Hey, if we meet up on Saturday, would you fancy doing some shopping together in this new low carbon store? They have this vintage section and yeah, you can buy clothes without cutting in your carbon budget. Yeah, that sounds fun. I understood they also have a food section, right? Indeed, they work with suppliers who are doing projects with farmers that actively work on carbon storage, so those projects cut less in your carbon budget. We have to bring some of our own packaging though. No worries, I have this packaging from recycled plastic that we can use so we prevent spending our carbon budget on plastic bags. Okay, that is great. Hey, when I drive past your house to pick you up, can you show me your new backyard? I heard you tried to make it into a kind of carbon storage paradise. Yes, indeed, before the carbon budgeting was introduced, we and also many neighbors just had some tiles because beyond beauty there was like no reason to plant anything in your garden. But now everyone is so hyped about getting as many plants as possible that store carbon as it gives you a little bit of carbon allowance. Cool! The city must also be happy as those plants capture some of the water during the heavy rains. That's right, the weather is much more extreme nowadays, of course, as you have also noticed. And yeah, the plants, they help with preventing a peak of water in the sewage systems, and on hot days it's actually better to have plants as well than only stones to keep it a bit cool in the city. Yeah, I can understand. How is your sister doing, by the way? She lived on the countryside, right, and didn't have too much money to invest in going low carbon. She's doing well, but indeed it was difficult for her to make the transition, both practically and also mentally. I mean, everything that you do has a carbon implication and you need to track that with wearables or your phone. And you are somewhat restricted in what you can do and you have to change your diet and so on. Luckily, there were some subsidies she could get and now she actually has a successful low carbon campsite. I see the struggle indeed, but well, we tried all the other things to let people use less carbon, but the progress was way too slow for the urgency that was needed to fix the climate problem. Yeah, indeed. By the way, did you hear about that scandal where some celebrity took a private jet and got caught with going 5 times over his carbon budget? Yes, ridiculous! I think he now has to do like 60 hours of unpaid work for the government to capture some of that carbon back by working in some tree planting projects. That's right. I'm happy that everyone now has the same carbon budget, instead of the time where high carbon products and activities were just tax heavier. I mean, that created just further inequality. It is still not perfect though. I totally agree, but finally we're having the speed required to decrease our carbon emissions. Something different. I have some good news, by the way. Remember that I always ate that strawberry yogurt from the brand Dairylicious? I guess I do. So people weren't buying their products anymore, as it would just take too much out of someone's carbon budget, as the methane would be calculated as CO2 equivalent, of course. Now the company has made a vegan low carbon version and it tastes almost the same. Oh, I'm happy for you. I had something similar. I have this shampoo brand I like to use, but when the carbon budgeting started, I saw it had a huge carbon footprint that I couldn't afford, and I had to buy an alternative. But luckily, I saw that last week they launched a similar but low carbon version with circular packaging that you can refill. So now I can finally purchase it again. That's wonderful. Those circular refill innovations have of course been around for ages already, but there was little incentive to actually use it except some hippies that were into that stuff. Indeed, back then I considered myself to be into that stuff, but I think I remained stuck in my old patterns and just bought a bottle. Hey, something different. I'm just looking at the website of the shopping place we want to go, and they actually have an electric train going there. Shall we use that instead? Ah, yes, that new electric railway. It has quite some history. They tried to make it for years, but there was a lot of resistance against it, and people would just drive their fossil fuel powered cars to the shopping center, so the need was also pretty low for it. However, when the carbon budgeting came, people realized that going with the train would not cut too much in their carbon budget, while driving their fossil fuel car would. And let me guess, then suddenly a lot of resistance disappeared? Yes, people don't like to have unnecessary cuts in their carbon budgets. I'm one of them. Are you, by the way, planning to visit your mother-in-law in Spain this year still? Yes, we are planning, but it's tough. We can visit her less often as traveling there cuts pretty strongly in our carbon budget. And it also takes more time, but luckily my employer is flexible with that, as everyone nowadays just needs more time for traveling due to carbon budgeting. We're having our high hopes for the Hyperloop to Madrid though. Luckily that got some extra investment now that people actually were forced to move away from flying for relatively short distances. Okay, I hope you're still able to visit her. Remember those times where you could just fly for 35 euros to Spain and the carbon wouldn't be taxed at all? How could we have expected people not to choose that option if any lower carbon option would take more time and money? I know, right? On the one hand, that was a great time, but thinking back of it, it kind of feels cruel to destroy the Earth's climate for our future generations. Indeed. Alright, we've been talking way too long. See you on Saturday. See you, and good luck with rationing your carbon the coming days so you can visit your mother-in-law later this year. Yes, we try. Bye.